Namaste. Hi, beautiful souls. Welcome to my channel. My name is Sadhana, and I'm an intuitive tarot reader and practitioner of many metaphysical arts. And on Wednesday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific, I'm here to share with you tarot decks, oracle decks, and do reviews. However, tonight I am doing a VR, a video response to the lovely Kelly Bear. And this is a really fun tag. We're going to look at a few favorite decks that are very much a part of my practice at this time. And this is all in the theme of great fun and winter, the theme of winter. And welcome to Sunny DD and Tamian and winter solstice blessings to all of you and to our friends in the Southern Hemisphere. Summer solstice blessings to you. This is just a really magical time, and I had a few moments to be out at the golden hour just as the as dusk was approaching, and it's just absolutely beautiful. We've had a lot of snow where I am. The ground is white, the sky is blue, the air is crisp. It's absolutely gorgeous. So it's just really special time. My children are arriving home. The house is filling up, and yeah, we're deep. We're deep in the season. I will be lighting candles for solstice and offering a reading as well as reading a poem at 6 o'clock in the Facebook group if you want to join in for that as well too. So let's get to the decks and to Kelly Bear's prompts, and they are listed in the description box below. Welcome to Laura. Many of these decks will be familiar. A lot of you have been watching me for some time, and there should be no surprises here. Okay, so the first question is in regards to base layers. Which decks are fundamental to my tarot practice, foundational to my tarot practice, and why? And I want to say in response to all of these tags that this is an ever evolving journey with the tarot, that I do use my decks a lot. I do work my decks. Just want to close the screen. There's a lot of action back there. And so I am not somebody to use a deck once and put it away. And if I do, it tends to drift out of my library. And so the foundational decks will shift depending on what I'm doing and what I'm learning and what I'm studying, studying myself. Welcome to Donna as well as Janine. Lovely to have you here. And so I have I should get my list out. I have chosen 3 decks in this particular category. I have done deep dives with 2 of them. One of them you see frequently on my channel. So let's just start with that one. And this will be absolutely no surprise. You've seen it many, many times. Oh, let's add a camera. Let's do that. Okay. And hopefully we have enough light. I will put the candle over here. And we'll zoom in the camera a little bit. I didn't bring another light. Let's turn on this one. There we go. Lose the mood lighting, but that's okay. This is a deck by Celia Mailsville that I fell in love with the moment I took it out of the box. I have been working with this. I can't tell you when I got it. I'm sorry I didn't prep that information. But one of the things that has definitely been an important part of my practice is, well, it always has been energy medicine. And I really appreciate decks where I can feel the energy. There is tremendous emotion in some of these cards. And I have both the Lily White and the Lily Black tarots. I tend to use this one more. There are a few things that are revealed in the lily black that you don't see in the lily white. It's great to have both of them to read with them in contrast. And actually tonight, that would be a really good thing to do. I might do that. So one white candle, one black candle, lily white and lily black. My personally, having decks with fewer people and less detail on the cards has made a world of difference to how I read. And while so for example, this Four of Pentacles is a very standard interpretation, similar energy to we see in Pamela Coleman Smith's artwork. But that's not the case in all of the cards. And so this is one of the knights. This is the Knight of Water. And in this particular court card, all of the knights are associated with the element of fire. And that might not be the element that I associate with the knights in other decks. This is a very, I want to say, Golden Dawn interpretation. But in this deck, that's what I'm going to work with. Solar energy for the knights. And it's interesting because I don't think that, we'll leave it at that. But I wouldn't call this a Golden Dawn based deck in any stretch of the imagination, but it does have little touches here and there that add something very special. The pages all have a little heart above them. Oh, you can't see that. This is the page of fire. So not being so much connected to an element, but perhaps even to a chakra. So if you're interested in and work with the chakras, that might be something that you could bring in to the pages. So all of the pages are connected to a heart. And this is explained in her guidebook. It's been a long time since I've actually read it. I do read this deck very intuitively. And I have a thing for watercolors. There's something about the fluid energy of watercolors that really speaks to me. And so this deck I have spent a lot of time with. This is one of my favorite cards. This is the Six of Cups with these nesting bowls, the little flowers growing in the center of the nesting bowls. Sorry, my wrist maulers are banging on the table there. I'll take those off. Yeah, I just love working with this deck, and it reads really, really well. It really does. And I wouldn't change anything in it. I think that it's definitely lacks diversity, yet at the same time, there's an absence of humans in the cards. It is not body diverse for sure, but it has certainly awakened new conversations with certain cards. This one in particular, this is the Tower. And when I look at the elk that has just shed its horns in the middle of the forest fire, it just evokes so much. And yeah, I absolutely, can I say I take this deck with me a lot when I'm doing readings for a group or when I'm doing readings for people that I don't know. I feel that it's very diverse. It works with a lot of people. So very foundational to my practice. Now, I've never done a deep dive with it, and maybe that's something that I could do. And I don't even think I've ever done a walkthrough with that deck. And the other two that I thought I would share with you today that are definitely base layers, which are foundational. And that has to do, I think, there's a lot of decks that could fit here, really. But I chose the Marielle. And I've actually arranged this to be working with my esoteric series that's ongoing right now. So these are the cards for the Capricorn season. Why is this foundational to my practice? Because this card, this deck challenges, I need to put them down and talk. This deck challenges me to explore mythology, to explore past lives. There's something about this deck in past lives that has been very, very interesting to me. And I do bring that up. So I tend to, it's interesting when people book in with me, they tend to book in for a series of sessions. I worked with lots of people over a course of 6 to 10 sessions. And yes, I do readings, but I do much more than that. And it is, this is a deck that always becomes a part of that because it helps me dive deep into the relevant archetypes concerned with people's issues. So this is for sure, this is a base and has become a base of my practice. Really, really love this deck. Hi, Alana. Lovely to have you here. And then the other one is the Wildwood Tarot. And why this one is a base layer for me is a couple of reasons. I use this deck when people are asking season-specific questions. This is one of the decks that I did trim, but unfortunately I lost the moon card, and the trimmed version of the deck was the shiny one, the older version. The newer version is a matte cardstock, and after what just happened in trimming the Herb Crafter Tarot, I don't think I'm going to be trimming this deck again, but I know because a lot of you have asked me about freeing this deck from its borders. But when people ask season-specific questions, I use this deck for that kind of conversation. It's very connected to elements, seasons, energy work for sure. I know a lot of the relationships now. I've done a walk through the Wildwood a couple of years, 3 times maybe. Used it a lot, and so I know the relational correspondences across the wheel of the year. I have taken some time to reflect upon the order of the court cards and how that presents. The sixes, for example, all fall at the equinox, the 2 equinoxes and the solstices, and so there's certain markers and ways to use. Isn't this a beautiful card here? Oh, this is such a gorgeous card. I just saw it glowing in the corner. It's the 9 of Stones, the 9 of Earth. So for readings at Sabbats, it's also it's a very, very special deck. It just sort of it ties into that. And while climatically speaking, it doesn't match perfectly with where I live. It's pretty close, and I love all of the books. Alison Cross's book, is it A Year in the Wildwood? That is a great book. There's another additional book, I believe, by John Matthews, as well as the guidebook that comes with it. And I would highly recommend this as a deck to connect with animal energy, pagan energy. And when I say that, this also deepens my memory of my first pagan religion, if you will, which was Shintoism. And when I was in my very early 20s, I lived in Japan for a number of years. And the practices that I was introduced to were definitely foundational to who I am today. These were early awakenings for me, and absolutely love this deck. So those are 3 base layers that I wouldn't be without. And I find that these decks are really useful in to have. Sometimes I go to an event. I'll get hired. Like somebody will have A group of women will come here to the coast and they'll rent an Airbnb, and there'll be 8 women and they all want readings. And sometimes they'll sit in the room together, and other times they'll come in one by one. And I really find it's important to have, most of the time I will use a different deck for each person. It's kind of crazy because um, it just naturally fits to people. And these 3 decks I would always have with me when I was traveling. But anyway, let's get on. Let's do the rest of the tag. So I believe there's seven prompts. The next one is ugly Christmas sweater. I don't have a lot of novelty decks, but my project, which is not quite finished, with the Ali Man Tarot, was so much fun. I really, really enjoyed this. And the Ali Man project. So the Ali Man Tarot was one that I had Kenton, one that I backed on Kickstarter. And then I realized I didn't have all the extra packs. So I did order them. And I should have the other camera up because this is just too fun. Part of the fun of this deck, the novelty, is all the fun card backs. Um, it's just, yeah, it's just really, really fun. And the work that day seven, I'm going to call him Seven, put into the creation of this deck is really, really something. There are, I want to say, probably three times as many cards as I have in my hand. So what I have in my hand are the 78 cards that I'm presently working with the Ali Man Tarot. And I intend to keep this on my acrylic stand over here, and I will be switching some of these up. Um, Part of my New Year's project is to pull out the cards that I don't feel entirely comfortable with, and to take out the decks that are in my I don't call it my purgatory pile. I call it, I don't know, my retired pile, and perhaps to pull some cards from those decks. I have some other intentions, different ways I will be sharing those decks. What this Ali Man project did for me was bring a whole bunch of new decks into my awareness. Um, and I had already done this project some time ago. I did this in my journal, and I went through, this is long before I had as many decks as I do now. And that number has gone up and down and up and down. But I went through and I made a list of all my favorite cards. And I did a tag called hashtag 78 decks, 78 cards, something like that. I think it's just a really novel idea. But if you do that on your own, of course, cards are all different sizes and they don't fit together. And what we get in this deck is, um, they're all the same size, so they fit, and they shuffle and so forth. And some of them have gilded edges, and some of them don't. And it's just really, really fun. I don't know if you'll be able to see in the low light. Yeah, you can see some of them. Some of them are edged, and some of them aren't. So this is just a great, great novelty item, and I think it fits perfectly in the ugly Christmas sweater category. Yeah. All right. Number 3 is a winter coat. This was, again, this is a kind of hard. This is a difficult question for me because, again, I use my decks, and there have been this particular season a few, I want to say, that have really done a lot of work, and one is Anatolian's Tarot of the Abyss. I had a difficult time with the deck when I first got it. I didn't find it an easy read at all, and I wanted to explore it again. And I brought it out early fall and began to explore it again. And I found it to be quite a brilliant reader. And I think one of the gifts of this deck are the neutral colors. And again, very expressive art. And I love the court cards. Sorry, I'm having a bit of a hard time here. I just greased up my hands because it's cold and I've been shoveling snow, and I'm just trying to be careful about not getting stuff on the cards. You didn't need to know that. Anyway, I'm really glad that I brought this out again, and I want to say I have used this deck probably every week in for a couple of readings, and found it to be quite revealing. I think it took me quite a bit of time with that Two of Swords to really feel the energy of that card. Um, and I never really thought about the Two of Swords as choosing which mask to wear. So this is one that's been surprisingly well used. Yeah. And the other winter coat that I want to say I have been and will continue, this is one that's not going off the shelf, is the Tarot of the Strange Branches. I am so surprised at the power and the depth of the readings that I have been getting with this deck. I did a video last Friday on past life readings. And again, there was a whole bunch of new insight that came out of this deck. And I'm just so happy this deck came into my awareness, and I've been using it and intend to keep using it. It has a feminine energy, but it also has a fearlessness to it. So it is, I want to say it's a dark workhorse. It's a dark horse. I had no idea that this sort of a deck um, would do so much. Would do so much. Yeah, and you can see it's also a watercolor deck, so I really enjoy working with them. Yeah. Ah, Kenton. Okay, so I'm very intrigued. I don't have the Voyager, and I have looked at it multiple times. And there is it's not the Telemic, it is there's a couple of collage decks that I have considered purchasing. Yeah. I know a lot of you work with Tez. Oh, I forget the name. Anyway, I think it's large cards and it's very expensive. That's probably one of the reasons why I don't have it. But yeah, so please feel free to share your responses. What is, if you had to choose and say, what are your base layers, and how would you, could you leave them behind, or are they absolutely essential as a building block of reading for yourself or others? And the whole thing about the ugly Christmas sweater one, it's It's a surprising, like for me, the Alimentaro was a really surprising project, and the fun of putting it together was just, and I know it's going to be an ongoing project, so that even makes it more joyful. All right, let's go to number 4. Number 4, snow boots. Most of you know that I'm all about deep dives. I love diving into decks and exploring them in lots of lots of different ways. And the most recent deep dive was the Herb Crafter Tarot, and I can't say enough about that deck and all that that brought forth, the connections with the choices of the plans for the numbers. Like that was a great, great deep dive, and I'm personally going to continue exploring that. I have a um, I'm going to create a document to go with that deck that I will keep to the side. There's a lot of great information in the guidebook, and I love the way that the deck is taken up, grown, the way the deck is organized. So, that's that is not the one I chose for this conversation, because what I wanted to talk about was the next deck deep dive. So Canton says, angel or occult deck, or both, still meandering through those two. Okay. Just so you know, if you're looking at the titles, so Kenton has 2 channels, and this is the same person. I don't know why it switches back and forth. I know some of you have multiple channels, and it does that as well too. Okay, so I want to talk about the Flarcos Tarot, which I do have a thumbnail up. I am going to be doing, this is the next deep dive. I believe it starts at the end of this year. I have been fascinated with this deck since it arrived, and I may have seen the deck on Wasima's channel. I'm pretty sure it was on her channel that I first saw it. In this deck, we have a really interesting phenomenon in the minors. So the minors are like a dream sequence. Oh, don't apologize, Canton. It's fine. They're like a dream sequence, and you see this beautiful hermit card. You see, and I will go through this in detail when I do that video. But for example, we're looking at a 6 and a 7 here, and a 4. You have to look at the suits in a spread, but there is less color in the ace 2, 3. The aces are actually black and white, and less color in the 2, 3, 4. And then as you get to the 9 and 10, there's more color. So there's that level of awareness, and there are multiple symbols and things to look at in each of the cards. It's a super intuitive deck. The whole story of this, if you know anything about the dream temples, it's connected to the Oracle of Delphi. It goes back to, there's a lot of mythology built in here as well too. And so I am very much, I've been waiting and waiting to do this deep dive for a while. And of course, I will have Carmen. She's said that she's happy to be here and to answer questions and talk about it more. There is a free guidebook that has recently come out. The PDF is available. And so it is possible to participate in my deep dive without having the deck. You could just simply use the PDF, and it will be available for a limited time. And all of that information is in the thumbnail, is in the description box of the upcoming video. So you can find it there. The deck does have a border. This one is trimmed. I took off all of the edges, and the titles for the cards are very tiny. They're in a corner, but they're still visible. So this was a great. I'm really glad that I trimmed this this deck. Doesn't shuffle well, and that often happens. Like, I love to riffle shuffle, so when you cut off the borders, it's not as easy to riffle shuffle, but it's all good. Um, a deck deep dive that you really sink into and what makes it so interesting. The history, the mythology, the um, the organization of the court cards is especially interesting, and it's really getting me. So right now, I'm doing a Thoth inspired series, and those of you that read with the Thoth Tarot, you know that the first court card is the Knights. And there is a discussion, a very interesting discussion as to whether the Knights are the kings or the knights in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. By the way, we will dive into this in Tarot Foundations too. That's one of the juicy topics that we're going to really try to wrap our heads around. But in this deck, and I can't remember where I read it, and I think there is an essay that was made available by the publisher of this deck, and I've lost the link for the essay. And I believe it was in that essay that Carmen explained that the trails, so she calls the Knights the trails, were the first court card. And I love that she used that word. It's almost as if this particular court leads you into the experience or guides you into your dream, something like that. The aces and the knights are black and white. It's a really intriguing deck, and I can't wait to start this deep dive. I will be resourcing, and I will find that essay. I'll be using her, as well as the little white book's not bad actually that comes with it, as well as the new guidebook. And we'll be I love this card. I will be calling on Carmen as well too at some point during the deep dive to answer questions. Yeah, the card that Janine is referring to is this one here, with the energy that is blasting through the throat. It's a really incredible tower card. Yeah. So those are my snow boots. And the next prompt is hat. Hat. When a deck twists my noggin so that I struggle to understand or connect with it, what I tend to do is just to dive deep into it, because I know that any deck, eventually I will be able to figure out what is going on and build the connections and a deeper understanding with it. And the one that I chose for today is a deck that was gifted to me recently, and that is Out. Is that the one I chose for this? Yes, Outgrow Yourself. Now, Outgrow Yourself is a Thoth-inspired deck. I just need to double check here. I don't believe we see elemental or astrological associations on the cards. There are symbols that feel familiar to the art that we see in Pamela Coleman Smith's artwork, as well as in Lady Frida Harris's artwork. And yet, so let me get to the minors. Just put the majors to the side. Yeah, So that is the Ace of Wands. And there is a key phrase on every single card. So the Two of Fire, find the fire inside you. And also, this card, sorry, this Outgrow Yourself is called an oracle and a tarot. However, it is a tarot. What I did for the minors was use a silver Sharpie and put the number and the elemental symbol in the corner of the card. And so, what is presently making me spin my head is to try and figure out the um, connections with the plants, the creator's inspiration for the phrase that is on the top. And then the whole idea of outgrowing yourself and what that means. Yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm definitely intrigued. And what I am planning to do with this tarot deck, oh, what's it called? This is the box. It's called Outgrow Yourself. And the creator, you can see the creator's name here. It's a Swedish deck. What I intend to do is to pull the cards as I am going through the Thoth Inspired series and to have a good look at what's going on in this deck. So yeah, I'm scratching my head. Definitely scratching my head. Kabbalistic Tarot 5781. Yes. Yes. Okay. So that's the hat. And there are two more prompts, scarf and mittens. Let me get to that. All right, so scarf. Scarf is a hug deck when you are in need of support. Yeah, good question. Good question. I have to say the one that I have been working with the most, that I feel I understand why so the deck is called the Future Ancestor Tarot. And I understand the inspiration of the creator and how the deck was put together. I totally get that. But I feel that the title of the deck doesn't do its service. I think that there is a lot more going on in this deck than you would think that this is just a deck for doing ancestor work by the title of the deck, but it's most definitely not. And I find it's very gentle yet real. It's very honest. It's not confronting. And this is one that I have been using, like all of these decks I've been using a lot, and I don't have an intention of putting away anytime soon. But if somebody is coming for a reading and they're feeling a little flustered, they're feeling sad, like this is a great deck for grief work. And so this is why I'm putting the Future Ancestor Tarot in the comfort and the support. I've used a lot of different decks for grief work over the years, and this one just feels it's definitely touched me in a way, again, unexpected way. This is not one that I jumped on right away, and I have to say it was well-tempered Claire Andrew who got me onto this deck. So thank you for that, Andrew. 3 Degrees of Love. Hello, hello. Welcome. Okay. And Kenton is saying water crystal oracle is his hug deck. Okay. What is your hug deck? Please do share. Make sure you say it's a hug deck because I'm going on to the next category. So this is the final prompt, and that is that the final prompt? No, there's mittens. I didn't make a banner for mittens, so let me do that just now. Okay. And I have a new deck for this category, as well as an old favorite. Okay. So the final category is mittens. And this is travel decks on the go. Well, to tell you the honest truth, I travel with all my decks. They don't need to be small or big. But sometimes if I am going to the city, I'm going to town for shopping, or maybe even if I'm going to the beach, not this season, going to the park, then that is the kind of occasion where I will take a travel deck. And it does. It needs to be, if it's in a box, the box needs to be in a bag. If it's in a tin, I put the tin in a bag to try to protect the deck. And there's two that I'm going to share with you. One that goes with me definitely everywhere. I believe this is a micro or a mini Peggy bag. And her bags are very well constructed. If you don't know who that is, Peggy is, her bags are available on Etsy, and I can put the link below later. It's not there now. She is Lisa Papez's partner. For those of you that don't know, Lisa Papez has a tarot channel as well. And this is my trimmed Llewellyn that fits in this mini bag. So let me get this out for you. It's just a beautiful deck. I do have the Llewellyn on the table. I'm sure you've all seen this trimmed, but just let me show you. I'll get out. This is one deck I'm really, really glad I trimmed. The reason I have the full-size version of the deck is because the major arcana are all associated with Welsh mythology, and the names of the myths or the relevant characters are on the cards. And if you don't have that memorized, sometimes it's difficult to see what's going on. But you can see how tiny it is, and so this deck, this little one, is definitely a pair of mittens that travels with me. And I love the artwork on this deck. I can just stare into these cards, particularly the major arcana. I absolutely love the major arcana. The blues are really intriguing, and I find it fascinating that this deck was framed in gold. There is another deck by Anna Marie Ferguson, and it's what it's called, the Arthurian Tarot. Now, there's a few Arthurian Tarots out there. The one I'm talking about is the one with the artwork by Anna Marie Ferguson. Same artist as this deck, and it is silver. And so one of the things I have done is use both of her decks. One is the silver deck, one is the gold deck. This is the gold deck. Arthurian is the silver deck. I much prefer this one to the Arthurian Tarot. The Arthurian Tarot has not only a legend on each of the majors, but there's also a legend associated with each of the minors. So it's a lot. It's a very, very steep learning curve. Okay. Are you asking, Kenton? You're asking in the chat, or are you asking? I'm just curious. So you're asking RWS Arthoth? I both. I will always use both. I will always use both. But I think that no, you wanted the full name. Sorry, I'm confused. I'm confused. Oh, those are your travel decks. Okay. Got it. Got it. Got it. Okay. Now, I no, I don't. It's too much. It's too much because I haven't done a deep dive with it, and there are 78 stories, 78 legends. It's like those fairy tale decks. It has a different fairy tale with each card, and you don't know all of them. Of course, you can read without knowing what it is, but I love to take the time to do that. Yeah. Okay, last deck. This is also a travel deck. It is a brand new deck. I have gone through it. And this is Ari Weisner's Trinity Tarot. And I found this deck. I ordered this from Ari's Etsy shop. And I found this deck because I had picked up the oh my goodness, Transient Light Tarot in the store and was reading about Ari and heard about this deck, and I just love the amount of white space that was on the cards, the shape, and this is one that is going to stay in my basket. I'm going to be reading with this. Yeah, just absolutely. I love the cardstock. I love the whole idea of no plastic. The backs are great. But I need to go through it. So there's a few, right? So I have lots of the tarot decks in tins. If I had to pick one of those, I'd say my favorite probably is the Wildwood. I have the Vanessa, love the Vanessa. You know, it's right there. It's a part of Bewitched was a part of my youth. Um, yeah. I do have the mini Barbara Walker. That is another really great and intriguing deck. So the decks that I have in a tin are pretty special. Um, but Ari Weisner's Trinity Tarot is one that I'm going to be working with for some time. So those are my mittens. Those are my mittens. Um, yeah, so I want to thank you for hopping on today and sharing Kelly Bear's tarot tag with me. And in the description box below, there is a playlist. And so if you're interested in this playlist, she is linking everybody's videos in that playlist. And then you can go to town binge watching this particular tarot hashtag. So I want to wish you bright blessings for the solstice. And I will see some of you in the Facebook group shortly. Take good care. Namaste.